Okay, good evening, everybody. We're going to start the meeting with call to order and roll call. Calling to order at, what's the time? I don't see. 7:01. Well, that's good. And Teresa will take the minutes because Nancy is not yet visiting. So roll call. Marion Flunder,
Nona Chariello,
Judy Murphy.
Yogi Zimmerman,
Megan Richards,
Teresa Coleman.
and Dieter Waltz just came in. Perfect. We'll wait until you sit. We started very punctual. All right, oral communications. Let's start. Any committee members having something to say that's not on the agenda?
I do.
Okay, let's start with you.
Well, I actually meant to do this last month, but I just want to congratulate Judy on her Backyard Habitat Award and Dieter on his Founders Award, both of which were issued by the town council in January to great acclaim for both of their tremendous accomplishments, both in the committee and also in the environment. So thank you both.
And
He has one.
I want to say that on my action item list last time was to look and see if I could find backyard habitat brochures, and I could not.
Do we know if there is any money in the kitty to do this brochure?
I thought we had a budget approved last spring that goes through the summer, the fiscal year.
Okay,
So unless they just wiped out all the committee budgets in the process, we had a couple $1,000s. I was wondering about that when I looked at the minutes, because we talked about the banner last time. You said the town had said there was no money for a banner, but Conservation Committee had a budget. So did it get paid for out of that?
Yeah, I was going to make a correction.
oh, okay. Should I contact somebody in the town to find out how much money we have? So that we know, so that we
Couldn't
could
hurt.
go and print the brochure?
Couldn't hurt.
Okay.
I think we also talked last time about the potential of the Trichia mailers or brochures, so it'd be good to know for both.
All right, so for the minutes, Teresa. Yeah, I will. I just wanted to say that Rebecca is on the phone, on Zoom. Yeah. Okay, there is nobody else online, and Rebecca is muted, so I assume she doesn't have any oral communication. All right, then let's start with the approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to read them? Do we have any changes?
Yeah, I have a clarification about the Bloom Pool banner. The town is supporting the production of the Bloom Pool banner. There was just very limited assistance, and I need to get repaid for it.
So we'll change that in a minute.
Was it
With
clear to
that-
you, Megan, that it was coming, you say the town will support out of our budget, or the town is supporting it?
They didn't specify.
Okay.
whose budget it was.
Okay, with that, there are no other changes. Can I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes with that one amendment.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes so approved.
Actually, that wasn't so much an amendment as an update, right? On the banner.
No, it's a correction to the way it's written. It's written to say that the town did not support the procurement of the
Okay.
banner.
That was my mistake. I thought I wrote down that the town was not going to pay for it. So
Okay.
that was my error.
Okay. Judy, I assume we don't have to pull forward
She's not here yet. She's running late. She's driving home from San
Okay.
Francisco and got stuck there.
Okay, because Judy had asked me to pull forward the mountain lion talk, so when she comes, we'll pull it forward so that she doesn't have to sit through the whole meeting. All right, committee business, I sent everybody the updated committee priorities. It was the Appendix A. Did everybody have a chance to look at it? And is everybody happy with the changes?
I didn't read it as priorities. I read it as who was assigned to what, because there's some things on
That's
here
right. Who's
that are
assigned to
super
what?
low priority.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got it right. Okay, I thought so. Then let's move on to the site permits. You have seen the 125 Golden Oak, which was completed. The 41 Stonegate, I emailed you today. You might not have seen it, but you have it in your email. And then the 5588 is pending. And I believe there was a site visit today, but it's probably too early to talk about it.
Yes, it's yes and yes.
Okay. All right, then let's move on to the tree permits. As discussed,
Marianne, can I just say 41 Stonegate is done. It's not pending.
I know, but it was.
Oh,
when
sorry,
you wrote
so-
the- It's completed on my sheet here, but it wasn't when we sent the agenda out. You have the agenda that was
Right,
sent out a
okay,
week ago.
that's right.
Yeah.
Never mind. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right. So tree permits. We have a new, pretty good looking, we think, tree template, which was the Appendix C. Did you have a chance to look at it? The rationale behind it was to keep it as short as possible, but still informative, to make it easier for the town when they get a report from us to see, okay, what is approved, what is not approved, to just make life easier for the town. And we might, as we learn and try to improve the process, add things. And if you have some feedback, so it's a living document, basically.
I looked at what Judy sent out, and that was the only sort of ball I had. No two trees, no two are the same. And if you're all forcing it into one template, into one, then it will be very hard to.
I think we're talking about this report template, not, the thing I sent out was just for the subcommittee. We're talking right now about just the template for the report that the town gives back to the town.
Yeah.
So, Dita, you saw the report for 35 Valencia. Remember what the 35 Valencia looked like?
Yeah.
Where we had a little square, tree 1, tree 2, tree 3.
Oh, I know.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Mm.
You're not happy with that
Well,
format?
well, I'm not happy because again, I was lied to,
No, Dita, we're talking about 35 Valencia,
yeah, you know,
35 Valencia.
and they just took the tree out. Is not what we had recommended. We went out if the tree was going to go.
That's a different
into the-
address, Dita. It's a different address. It's a different address. 35 Valencia is the one.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we're done
No,
with the
we're
template.
not
There's a
done.
misunderstanding.
So
What did we
35
decide on
Valencia
the
is one
We
with
haven't
the
decided. We're
three
We're still
slopes that
working on
had
it.
been chopped, and it was the north facing slope, and it had one tree that we said, don't
Oh.
take that.
The one with the metal, at
Yeah,
the
with
beautiful,
Oh, no,
they haven't taken anything out.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, you're talking about a different address. I
So,
understand.
Can I bring
Coming
something
back
up?
to the template.
Come back to the template. I have a question. And that is that in the list where it says tree 1, tree 2, tree 3, are those the arborist tree numbers, or are they our tree numbers? And will there be some confusion about that? Do we need?
These are our numbers, and then we have to identify the trees in there. So if it's only one tree,
Right, it's not.
yeah,
it's not a
otherwise we will
problem,
have
huh?
to put in tree numbers.
So is there another column needed for, or the arborist number will go in that column if there are arborist numbers? I got
Yeah,
it. I got
exactly.
it. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so
And
if
if
it's
there's
tree
no
number
arborist, and if
25,
there's no arborist report, then we just number.
yes,
1, 2,
that's
3.
what, that's what it
Okay,
is.
got
Yeah.
it. And the other question I had was, there are times when we wouldn't necessarily approve a tree coming out, but the fire department recommends it. Is there, how does that get handled? Do we just defer to them, or should we, and just in the guise of education, do we say we wouldn't, this is a healthy tree, we wouldn't recommend it, but we defer to the fire department, or do
So
we just stay away from that?
can
like-
we defer this
Uh-huh.
to the fire department? It's something like that is actually on the agenda.
Okay.
Can you hold that thought?
Except if we're going to approve, if you're asking us to approve this right now, then it's kind of,
Okay, so let me go to the fire. Look at the fire.
and maybe that it's just something, so maybe we can talk about it later, and it's just something that would go in the summary, in the comments.
Generally, if the fire department would have a specific report, tree X is coming out. I think it would be highly unlikely that this is a healthy tree that needs to be, that is safe to stay in from our experience.
Yeah,
Um,
in general, we don't actually have fire.
So
department
on the one that
reports.
was controversial, there
And-
was one, and I think we did defer, there was a tree on there that
Well,
you guys said.
part of the problem on that is that that report was confusing in that it didn't say specifically remove this tree or that tree. It said thin, it used the word remove, but it didn't say what to remove.
And actually,
Okay, so
that is
we'll
on the
have,
agenda.
limb
I'll
up.
take,
Yeah,
stop
right.
that now.
because there is a bigger,
Up and
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then my last thing is, since part of the goal is education of people when we go out, is that the things about, we also suggest that you might take this out, that would go in the narrative place, and it would be automatically
Yes.
part of what you put in the narrative. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So is it generally, are you happy with that format? You think it's a progress?
Yeah, it really helps the town if they can say, what was the decision? Not why. I'm not sure that's really that relevant to them issuing the permit.
Yeah, the why or the narrative where we then give suggestions to the applicant, that's really the important part for the applicant. Whereas for the town, they just look at the yes, no, and then they like
So I would just suggest, having worked with templates before, that, that we make it a little more clear up front that when we're talking about, first of all, the tree number, that I don't think that should, personally, I would not pre-populate it with 1, 2, 3, 4, since that's really not the number we want in there. We want it to be.
Mhm.
So I would actually clarify that the tree, it should say arborist report tree number, and then just leave that blank and then fill it in. And then I would also suggest that under approval, is it going to be perfectly obvious that that's a yes, no?
Yeah. There will be a
response?
yes or a no. And when there is a no, then there will be pruning it or something.
So that would then be the summary comment in the instance. So if there's a yes, there's no comment, just,
No, there is comment. There's definitely narrative if there is a yes. Sure, we might say something.
So we should probably circulate the last couple of reports that used this template so you could sort of see what we did.
I think it's a great idea. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to, I'm
And-
just saying, I've in the past been in situations where, there could be a little ambiguity about how it should be completed, and just trying to head that off.
Yeah,
That's all.
so if we look, if you looked at the appendix C, no, I sent you the reports because that's, I sent you the tree reports. And the 35 Valencia, which Nona did, that use the template, and that template doesn't say this, also has photos. So not only do we have the yes, no matrix and the narrative and the suggestions, but we also then at the end have photos that show exactly where we are suggesting the tree to be cut. Because most of the time, what we had lately, the tree is hanging over the roof, and the fire department said to the people, this is not 10 feet, we got to do something about it. And like we had one case last week, and we talked to the applicant, and then they were happy to keep the tree. And then Nona did it. We cut one big trunk on the side where it was hanging over the roof of the neighbor, and we cut another exactly, and so they know exactly what to do. So that's not in the template, but you will see that in the tree report.
And it's not, since the tree committee is always the three of you, basically, there's not as much ambiguity in terms of using it as there would be otherwise. But I think Teresa's suggestion of taking numerals out
I
of
like
there
that.
is
Yeah.
very good.
That makes a lot of sense. And you might see reports and you might have some other ideas, and then just bring them, drop an email and say, I just thought about that. You have an arborist there, you might have some great ideas. Okay, so that's the trees.
Relative to the fire department reports, it's been my observation that in the recent maybe 2-3 years, mostly it's all about the 10 foot above.
Yes.
double, Not, they don't much care if the tree is within 2 feet of the property or of the house.
Yeah, that's correct. That's everything we've had, maybe except for one. But yeah, that's correct. Okay. Let's see, where are we? Trumpo.
You'd like us to approve this template?
Yeah,
Okay, I move that we approve this template as written, with the exception of the removal of those numbers.
okay, second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimously in favor. All right, then the next thing is the broom pool, which is on Sunday, March the 2nd. There was an email today from Rebecca. There seemed to have been one, did you see what? Maybe
No.
it was just to me. She mentioned something, there was somewhere an error that said Saturday, March 2nd, but I couldn't find it. I just checked, and I think she said it was corrected. The article in the almanac said March 2nd, that didn't say Saturday or Sunday. And the updated newsletter said March 2nd, didn't say Saturday, Sunday either. And my email on the forum didn't say Saturday or Sunday, but there was something, and she graciously put an email out and just reminded people that it is on Sunday the 2nd. Oh dear, that's a big disappointment. Okay. We will give you time off for many years of major achievement. Okay, so Judy,
So I have agreed to be the bossy person in the morning, trying to get things organized as people arrive. And what would be very helpful to me is for us to choose, not necessarily now, maybe a small subgroup, to know which locations have been chosen and how many people you need at each group, so that as people arrive, I have that, I'll have a sheet made out for each of those places and how many people, and then I can just, it's easy for me to assign 3 people go there instead of just normally what we do is I just try to make all the groups kind of the same size and that, but I saw that you specified on one of the things you set out about how many people it would need.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be, obviously, we've usually done the larger groups because there are only so many of us leading a group. So that if we send out small groups, it'll have to be either leaderless or with some strict instructions.
Yeah, that's a good, so we have one, and I prioritize that at number one, that's at, what's it called, Cherokee, where we can use quite a number of people. I was chatting with Catherine this morning. She got the scouts, and I forgot
good.
who else she got. So she feels comfortable that we have enough people.
Did she mention the fire department where they approached, do you know?
You know, she mentioned somebody else, and I don't know if it was, I forgot now, if it was the, maybe the, I forgot. There were two groups coming.
Because I had that long list from when I organized it of various people who should be contacted, and I think
Okay.
she worked off
Yeah.
that list.
So I had the feeling that we have enough people and we have the priority list.
It's probably Jerry Welch, who's.
Yeah, we'll just
Yeah.
finish that. Or
No, we can finish up
Okay.
the item we're on now and then, move over.
we'll be with you momentarily. Thank you for coming.
So maybe you and I, we don't need to do this in the
Okay.
meeting, you and I can get together.
Yeah, we can
with
do it
that.
offline. And then there is, of course, Nona's open space, which she is leading. So that is already defined, and we'll do the other stuff offline. But it feels we have enough people.
Okay, and I didn't see on here who's getting the equipment.
Teresa,
Who's getting the equipment.
Okay, that was gonna be one of my questions. I just wanted to
I
make
thought
sure.
Teresa volunteered.
I just need to, okay.
All right.
Is that okay?
Yes.
the other thing, I went looking on the website for the waiver that we've always used and I couldn't find it. So I wrote to Cindy today and she said, when she looked, she found several waivers. She wasn't sure which was the right one. So she was checking with the lawyer. It seems like, another $500 is ridiculous, but it's like, okay.
You know, I might have the waiver
Old
on
ones.
my old
And
computer.
I found a really old one that we used in, like 12 or something. But there've been iterations since then, so I didn't think we should use the
Yeah.
old one.
Oh, but that's good. Yeah, we need the waiver. Okay. Setup and cleanup. So,
So,
Organize-
yeah, I'll be there in the morning and Teresa, you said, you're gonna do the end of the day, Teresa, you also want to come early? Your name's on it, but
I was on for both.
yeah, okay. Good, we'll have a little party before everybody
you,
gets
you
here.
know, I might be able to come for the end. I might be back. So
Yeah,
then
the setup,
can
I
help
think
with-
is, I
yeah.
don't think we're doing refreshments this time, so it's
No.
just a matter of, getting organized. The pennies, do you know who's got the pennies and where they're coming from?
The what?
The pennies, the little safety vest things that people wear, that usually has come so that you can put the kids in the safety.
It
Well,
used to
they-
be in a closet, one of, like that closet.
I don't think, as I remember, they changed that so that the chair's key doesn't work in those closets. So we need to find that
Can
somehow.
you do that?
Well, I'm not the equipment person, so
Oh.
I'd rather not. I'd rather
Ah.
just organize.
I
with the
think
other
Catherine
morning, but-
mentioned them last meeting. I'm not
Okay.
sure if she
I'll check
mentioned that
with
she
her.
had them or knew where to get them.
Okay, I'll
so.
check with Catherine.
Okay. Because we have to sort of paramountly think about the safety of these kids that we've asked to come out and stand on the side of the road.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Okay. And with that, we're done with the broom pool. Oh, one last thing. Can I see a show of hands? Who is coming? What does it?
She's leading her own group. Teresa, you'll lead a group. You can lead a group.
I'm not 100% sure. You have to be at a birthday party for lunch.
Oh, you don't know what-
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you need to go somewhere.
We might ask.
Catherine is coming,
Catherine is
so
coming,
Catherine
okay.
could lead it.
I don't have to do a separate site. I can do whatever site. I would just love us to do the Blue Oak Strip, but if,
Well, if we make
there's a
you
higher
if we make
priority,
you the head, one, then you go
Okay.
where you want.
You know what we can do? Because some are really small ones, like on, we can talk offline, where it wouldn't take you long, but if we take it out this year, then the street is clear of room.
Till next year. I mean,
No, no, I've seen it. Cervantes is now clear with the exception of a small spot, and I'll take that one out, even if that doesn't bloom.
Yeah.
So we can do,
we can discuss.
we can discuss.
It's like 30 to 40 years. And they keep coming up. We've worked in front of Colorado Madera School for at least 20 years. And initially there were big bushes and you need the weed range. And gradually, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. But if you don't do it for 1 year,
Oh, yeah. For example, what I know,
if you had 2 extra people for 1 hour, that would take care of it.
for example, Mapache used to be a terrible street in terms of room. And I think with the exception of 2 very small, which are on the other side of the street, at the moment, there is no broom visible on, not Mapache, Pinion, excuse me, Pinion. There is no broom visible on Pinion. So that's pretty good. If we don't see it this year and nothing is blooming, what are the odds that we'll see it next year?
Hi.
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 So,
Okay,
so
we'll
let me
keep an
get
eye
this,
on it.
let me get this clear. Leaders, Nona is one. You
No,
can-
I'll come to Foxina.
Okay. Teresa is 2. She, yeah, Megan can't. Not sure.
Catherine,
Catherine is 3.
yeah, that
So
will
that's-
work.
Pardon?
That will work.
I was thinking maybe I'd call Paul and ask Paul if he would
Yeah.
like to come.
Yeah.
Do it again, because often we have more people who can just be put in 3 groups. So, okay, I'll put that on my
What about
to-do
Nancy?
list. What- I'm
I
sorry,
don't
what about-
remember if Nancy
Is
said she's in
Nancy's
town
gonna-
or no. I
I
don't know.
thought Nancy was in town. So I'll call her also.
Okay.
She's probably not in a position to lead a group because she hasn't
We've never
done it,
done
you know, before, but I'll call her. and
Okay.
ask her.
Okay, with that, then let's pull forward the mountain lion talk.
So Teresa, this is.
Thank you.
And we'll have to.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
And you may need to
Turn on
it
your mic, the little button.
I'm Sandy Welch and I live on Mapache. And when we moved here 16 years ago, I spent a lot of money eradicating all the broom, Scotch broom. And every year we pull it down. And I have an extractigator. If anybody needs to use one of those, it's like,
The weed wrench.
A reed wing.
yeah. So I am coming tonight to represent Westridge Garden Club. I've been a garden club member since I moved here 16 years ago. And I was also part of a group of people, small group that was trying to gather volunteer interest, coordinate the efforts to help with the cubs that were orphaned after they were orphaned and rescued by the zoo. My daughter was the one who actually drove by in the morning on really early and thought she saw something and wasn't sure. And she came home at 6 p.m. and said, I think I saw a dead mountain lion. And then there was, I questioned on the forum and then we found out, possibly it was the mother. In the meantime, a group of us, a couple local residents and I were working on getting information from the zoo, Carol Espinoza and Joanne Klebb. I think I'm pronouncing your last name right. And while we were involved with the zoo offered to come down to Portola Valley and give a talk about the work that they're doing to save the cubs. So they have 2 people, their VP of Veterinary Services, who's worked at the zoo for 15 years, and she's going to give a special presentation about the medical facilities and what they've done to help save 30 mountain lion cubs to date who've been orphaned. They work through the wildlife conservation. I can't remember the exact name, but it's another conservation group, but Oakland Zoo has the facilities to help rehabilitate the orphans. And then we have the VP of Conservation who has worked there with Mountain Lion Conservation, California Condor Project, and other projects who also would like to do the presentation. It would be about an hour with a 30-minute Q&A. I've already tentatively reserved the room for March 20th with the help of another friend who talked to the town manager. And Westridge Garden Club was going to sponsor it so we can get the zoo to lock down the date, but somebody suggested, Judy, that we could have the Conservation Committee co-sponsor it, and we would love that because it would make our paperwork a lot easier. Anyway, that's my proposal. The Westridge Garden Club would bring the refreshments and we would be responsible for helping us set up, but we would love to co-sponsor with the Conservation Committee. And the event is free. It's not a fundraiser. It's a public education outreach event. And it'll be open to all public. And also having the town's resources to advertise the event would be helpful.
So
Yes.
I sent out this afternoon, and some of you may not have seen it because we don't always, everybody doesn't always see the emails. The afternoon, that proposed brochure for the evening that has a cute picture of the cub and some of what she was saying. And it also had the bios of the two proposed speakers, the veterinarian and the conservation person. And for the, so I have a piece of paper here that has those bios on it, if you'd like to see it, that I printed out, in case you didn't see my email. So that's just a little more background on who they are. When I saw, there was, as those of you who watch the forum know, there was all kinds of excitement about these cubs. And then after they got captured and taken to the zoo, the interest remained. And one person was talking about a talk, given by somebody from the Nature Conservancy. And I actually spoke briefly to that person about co-sponsoring because it seemed to me that it's really appropriate for we had one on the Pumas before. And, in that case, we designed who the speaker would be and it took it from there. But right now, when there's all this interest in the community that's bubbling up, it made sense to me that rather than reinventing the wheel, we might attach ourselves to one of these things. And if it was just a report from the zoo about the wonderful things the zoo does, I would say it's not really appropriate for us to do it. But because of the participation of this conservation person, he was going to talk about, the outreach in the wild and, some education about the mountain lions themselves. I thought it would be appropriate for us and a good way for us to sort of both help this happen and get a bigger audience for it. And also, we like to be doing things in the community that shows the community that we're an active part of the community and interested in what's going on. So some of it is self-promotion, if you will, and some of it is Puma education.
My question is, do you have an idea right now how long your agenda is, what you have planned, how long that,
The presentations
yeah,
by the zoo,
roughly?
60 minutes with
60
a
minutes.
30-minute Q&A, up to 30 minutes.
Okay, because the one thing I was going to ask, most of you probably saw Dana send it out on the forum. There is a video about mountain lions, and I would have to look. It's a YouTube, and I'm not sure what the rights are, but it's very educational. And I was just wondering if maybe after the talk and after the Q&A, if it would be possible or appropriate to show that, and legally permitted, to show that educational general mountain lion in the wild.
How long is the video?
I have to look.
Yeah, the only thing the zoo asked me to do is have them be the only presenter, although showing a video is a different category. They also said it was okay, and I'm going to reach out. I met somebody who's a representative of the Mountain Lion Foundation, and then a local high school student who works with mountain lion conservation, and she's a huge advocate for rodenticides that aren't anticoagulants. So I was going to invite them to have a table there that evening, and the zoo is completely fine with that. So if you know other people that are adjacent, you know, whether it's Bobcats or, you know, anything, people could come and have a table with information too. The video, I don't know how long it is.
I'll check.
Yeah, and it's kind of an hour and a half's kind of a good time for people with, it's kind of at dinner time, so I was told to kind of try to keep it simple to start. But obviously, we could also roll out something Mountain Lion Week since we have the Mountain Lion Talk the same week, which I think it's already at capacity
Yeah.
at that venue. So
So I'll find out, and I don't know, how does everybody else think about having that video tacked on if possible at the end?
I
That would be like an opening. I mean, you would basically be finished. And then there would be a video running but I don't know if you think that's feasible. What I am sort of thinking, and then the people who are really interested, they could sit there for another hour or whatever it is, or half an hour. But the information, you have achieved what you want to achieve, and your Q&A is done, so your speakers can go home, so to speak. So I don't know if that is a feasible format.
I think it's overkill.
Overkill.
I think it's
okay.
too much information.
Okay,
But if there are tables, maybe we could have a computer set up with it running and information on where to find it.
or
okay.
we could share a link to, you know, when we're advertising the event on the town center, if it's okay to show the video online. You know, here the zoo's presenting, if you'd like, you know, like you could include a link, an information link about
Yeah,
to that video.
Might
too,
be
as
part
sort
of the
pre-read for
Yeah,
people that, or preview, sorry,
yeah.
for people that are coming to the event. I
Might
think
be
I
good
found when
to have
organizing
it-
events is if you try to keep it as simple as possible, just,
Mhm.
and then and the talk's going to be a little more scientific, so the age range, I'm gonna have to edit their draft a little bit, but it's more suitable for middle school on up.
Yeah, the video might be a valuable part of like the promotion.
Yeah, I was also thinking, again, we have to find out the legal situation. It could be something we put on the town website under conservation.
It could be, or you might have to pay for streaming rights. I
Yeah,
don't, I don't,
I don't
that's a
know.
separate.
So, but that would be separate, obviously, from the
Yeah.
event, but yeah. Okay, so
And
then
we've
that's,
been really interested in rodenticides. I think I mentioned when we talked that, you know, if there's going to be a table about rodenticides, we have sort of a whole prepackaged thing we could
we
set
could
up
put our table
also.
there.
Yeah, I mean, because I think all those things are adjacent, right? Because Mountain Lion Foundation, if people are worried about a mountain lion getting their goats, I didn't know this, they have money to help create a, you know, mountain lion proof barrier fencing cage, I mean, to protect your small livestock, but
Put your kids in it when you send them out to play.
what's that? Well, and there are people that need to be educated because
Yeah.
they fear, like the cubs, people, you know, were concerned, will these cubs be dangerous to
Right.
and children?
Okay, so what specifically, in terms of action items, do you want us to do? What do you?
I
need
would
from
like
us?
you to vote to co-sponsor us. I will take care of all the paperwork and I can work with Judy about, you know, what your, because then we don't have to do the insurance. We don't have, you know, it's free. We get it for free, but having the insurance lien and having the town's messaging. And I can give you, once we get this finalized from the zoo, they can give you something in that format that you can send out with the town messaging.
So, so I can work with her on the paperwork and sign it. It's really just that we would be the co-sponsors.
So we would have a motion that the Conservation Committee will be a co-sponsor for the March 20th event
Oakland, yeah,
with the Oakland Zoo.
So I'm not comfortable with that quite yet. I just want to make sure that I really understand. You said the magic word, insurance.
Yeah.
What are we actually talking about? They're not bringing in animals, right?
correct.
So what?
And the
It's just a
club
town,
has
it's
to
a town rule.
be room.
Oh,
You have to do the liability, you're like an additional insured on the liability. So when the when the town committee does something, you already have that insurance policy in
I
place.
see
So
what you're saying.
the Westwood Garden Club wouldn't have to pay, or me personally, like for additional insured from my liability insurance.
So it's
It's just a
nothing,
s- it's a
it's nothing additional that we as a committee have to do.
No, and
in
there's
this-
no, there should,
okay.
it should be all part of your.
Thank you. Just wanted to
Committee-
better understand.
I-
Thanks.
Yeah,
They just, the town,
Yeah.
the town has an application process for using the community hall and it's just streamlined and less onerous for committees. and for everybody who's not a committee, it's more complicated and expensive. And it can go on and it can go out, get on the town calendar, and it can get, all of those things if we're sponsoring it.
And it is I mean, the conservation will be a topic. Oh, no, it's good to know.
Just wanted to have a better understanding of what specifically and it may be that, well, whatever, that
There are no live
timing
animals.
wise, it's, going to be a little iffy.
What time?
Just meaning it seems that it takes more than 3 weeks to get things through the town.
Well, that's why we kind of jumped the gun and they reserved the room, sort of quasi under their name before I didn't want to say, oh, sure, without bringing it to the
No,
committee.
totally
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, so yeah, I needed to know
started,
whether
the
we could even
process
have a
already started.
date, and being the co-sponsor, Westridge Garden. Good question, though.
Now I forgot the wording. Did you write down what I just said?
I did not.
Okay. Judy, do you want to?
So I move that the Conservation Committee co-sponsors with the Westridge Garden Club an educational evening by the Oakland Zoo on the mountain lion cubs that were saved.
I'm not writing that all down.
Okay, yeah.
so.
Okay, good. Co-sponsored with the Oakland Zoo, period. I mean, presented by the Oakland Zoo, period.
Okay, Yogi seconded, Teresa, you with us. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. So you and I can talk tomorrow about all the details and start running in place. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for
you.
coming by. Okay, now we're going back to the agenda and we're getting to wildlife corridors, fencing guidelines. And I just need to apologize. You might have noticed that the numbering is a bit weird. That happened when the town took my word and they put it into theirs. So I asked for a new template. So that's why the numbering is a little bit weird. So you saw the letter to the town is out. Haven't heard back yet, didn't expect. I got an appointment to meet with Mark Linda March or April, March, I forgot now what date. So he's meeting with all the chairs. And so he reached out and so we will have that. And I will mention that when I meet with him. Then to develop the guidelines and how to interpret the fence ordinance, that came up in the last meeting to help people understand the hopefully soon to be approved fencing guidelines. That will be a living document that the subcommittee envisages in the same way as we were working with the fire marshal with Kim's living document to support the fire ordinance. And so this will be ongoing. And in terms of the priorities in support of AB 1889, so the subcommittee has collected the last 2 months, I guess, a number of documents, and we just need to work through these documents to get to the priorities. This will take time. There's a lot to digest and to research, but as time goes by, we'll work on it and we'll show progress, hopefully.
So the next step is we take it to ASCC, we present it to ASCC. It's not clear to me what the next step. You wrote a letter to the town and
So
And-
we have a letter to the town, and the next thing is, when I was talking with Rebecca. Rebecca, if you want to add something, I will look if your hand comes up. So Rebecca said first it goes to planning, and then planning will send it to ASCC. So I'm giving it a little bit of time, and then I'll reach out to planning and I'll ask them where they are. And then we'll take it from there. I think once the staff takes it up and says, we'll send it to ASCC, I think it will, there is support for this. Yeah, and I was at an ASCC meeting yesterday and I'm very positive how the ASCC is in favor of trees and conservation. So I got very positive vibes.
I remember from when we wrote the Redwood guidelines that there was this sort of endless iteration. It went back, it went to ASCC and then it came back to us and then it went to planning and they changed it and then it came back to us and then to ASCC again. But there was a, capital B bureaucrat in the planning department that had this as his project and it was just bizarre how long it took to do it.
I feel very positive the way I've worked quite a bit with staff. I feel very, very invigorated how it works. It works very well. And I feel also we have a lot of support for our trees, for conservation. And there were times where we didn't. So that's very positive too. All right, so that's all at the moment and an update on the corridors. And now let's go quickly through the committee, what's going on with the committees. I did them now just to explain to you, it's alphabetical. Okay, it's alphabetical. So a quick update on emergency preparedness. You might or might not be aware of it. Those who were in the town council meeting are, so the EPC, one of the EPC 2025 goals that were presented to the town council on their meeting when they were presenting, which was the same evening as Catherine was presenting our stuff. The EPC feels that the Alpine Road should be widened to have a better evacuation route. And that would have implications for, for a lot of trees. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. One of the town councils raised some concerns on that evening that this is quote unquote, not quote unquote, but to rephrase is extremely expensive. So if this happens, I don't think this is something that can happen quickly because there's a lot of millions and millions. But I just wanted us to be aware because that would have quite an impact on the Alpine Road corridor. And then Frog Pond, question?
You're talking the Alpine Road corridor way down?
I don't know. Alpine Road per se.
Because-
Alpine Road, don't know. General Alpine Road. Yeah, don't know if it starts.
General sense I had was from the corner of Portola Road out. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Frog Pond,
Yep.
Yogi.
So we had our subcommittee meeting and you all have, I think, received today a copy of our notes. So we think the overall Frog Pond or the Frog Pond overall is in good shape right now. We anticipate that the town will do 2 mowings per year and it's largely driven by fire mitigation, so it shouldn't be a budget issue. That we will organize some volunteer work to do some weeding and removal of debris along the current school fence and trimming, etc. And then potentially, like we did, I think 3 years ago, do some of the thinning of the oaks along Indian Crossing. Internally, we will discuss whether we should or how we should finalize the MIG environmental report that we have as a draft. The town paid for 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago. So we'll revert on that. And at the same time, I think, Nona, you and I will look at, we need to apply for a secret exemption or not. I mean, but it's still worth it. That's something to discuss. I'm very much in favor and I have to find a partner in crime to advance that we work on some signage proposals and the Frog Pond, and maybe that's the first time in the town now that we kind of actively approach that to guide people and educate them on that location, because people that walk there during the week or on weekend just don't know what it is. They are wandering around there. And I think if they know what that little place is actually, how valuable it is, they may be a little bit more careful And then the big one is engage with the school again for the cleanup or the usage of the staging area as the soccer field. And we never got an answer back when we talked to them 2 years ago. I think they said, yeah, it's a staging area, but now it looks pretty not nice, and we have to see what they want to do with it. They should at least clean it up. So that's a big item. And then hand in hand with that, I mean, I learned that the fencing proposal will proceed. So from our side, I think we'll engage with them that we make sure that no construction will actually happen on the Foxconn side, that all the construction is done on the school side. So I'll send them a note probably next week that they keep us in copy when that starts and how it starts. And then contrary to what some people reported on the forum, I think the three of us were saying in the end, having a fence there all the way is actually better for the fox, because then fewer people will wander across from that side. I mean, already 2/3 of the side is already fenced towards the fox. So for us, it's not a big issue. And then, yeah, we also say that we should accept that impromptu trail that's running from one side to the other side. I mean, it's heavily used, and the nuisance are the dogs off leash, which I think will have an issue around town. So, yeah, that's what we have.
Okay.
Done.
Any questions for Yogi? If not,
I
Nope.
assume that some of this will be done in conjunction with this little subcommittee between open space and us. And since open space is thinking more about maintenance than it used to, do we need to have some of these items be done in that subcommittee?
How about we just talk about that on Wednesday when this joint subcommittee meets
Okay.
tomorrow? Okay.
oh, good, you guys are meeting tomorrow. Oh, that's good. Okay. So that's the frog pond, and then open space, Nona?
Okay, I have 3 updates. On March 6th, Open Space is meeting, has their next meeting, and one of the agenda items is the parcel within the Fogarty Winery Holdings that Open Space will consider whether or not to recommend to the town council that they look into it as possible open space acquisition. Some of us have walked it, not everyone yet. We're hoping that everyone will get a chance to, on open space will get a chance to see it, but there'll be some more background and hopefully a discussion and a vote on March 6th. Secondly, the joint subcommittee between this committee and open space will meet tomorrow. So that's Judy, Nancy, Gary Nielsen from Open Space, and me. We're meeting tomorrow at Springdown. That's our first focus because it's time to update the mowing schedule, the 4 mowings per year, get that scheduled, what work we want done. I've been in touch with Kim Giuliacci because she was contacted by Craig Dremen about potentially the town raising money to have him undertake restoration of grasslands and to sort of help her get in touch with what we have been doing and what we would propose. I invited her to the meeting tomorrow and she's going to join us. So I think that'll be really helpful because, you know, partly because it's often Woodside Fire people who do the big mowing. So anyway, and they've done the clearing there and stuff. So I think that should be good. The information that Kim received on what it would cost for Craig Dremen to do test plots was $10,000 for a quarter of an acre as a test pilot, a test plot per year. So if Springdown is 6 acres, if you were to do the whole of Springdown by its method, that would be $240,000 a year. So I think if we can keep it, if we can make progress with the approach we've had, that might be the way to go.
There's a long history with Mr. Craig And he's had for many years, ideas that I think are grandiose about how we should be doing it. And, you know, it's always like, oh, you can raise the money, oh, you can raise the money. And he's got specific plans for how the rich people in Portola Valley should just step right up and do this. So it needs to be taken with a grain of salt, and it can be very aggressive and
Yeah.
pushing it. So,
Yeah, and he did present to this committee a few years ago, and he, you know, a lot of people have worked with him in one way or another, or have declined to work with him for one reason or another, but
Is this the kite?
the Kite Hill, yes. Guy, anyway, so Kim will be there tomorrow, but we can also talk about how to think about, you know, other sites too, so that'll be helpful. And then the last thing, and this, I think it's relevant to this committee, is that, you know, there's the Shady Trail washout, and 2 members of the community offered to pay to repair it. And that was part of a policy discussion at the town council about how to accept private donations for work done within the town and actually basically managed by the town engineer or town staff. Anyway, it's all come together, and as I understand it, the gifts will be accepted and the work will go ahead. And that might be something to think about, using that as a model for other things that different groups might want to fund, even things like signs at some of the open space parcels. That might be a way to get the money together for that.
so I had heard about that, but I thought I had heard that it was done, but it's not done. It's getting ready to be done. They work jointly with Public Works and the funding group has worked together on the planning, et cetera, and then they fund it, and it's to be done soon. Is that right?
Right, yeah. I don't think it's done yet. I mean, I haven't been there in a couple of weeks, but it's only been a couple of weeks, so I don't think so. Yeah, but the engineering specs are all done and the plan is all set. And that's it.
I have one question, Nora. I believe I remember, it might have been last year, that there was something coming from Sacramento. Rebecca might know, that no more additional open space is allowed to be put in existence in California. If that is correct, how are you going to buy a parcel?
I know that you can't prevent development by putting land in open space. However, part of the rationale for this purchase would be to actually potentially provide some space for housing, a building. So I think that's the way it might proceed.
Okay.
Again, this is all complicated and there's a lot going on in Sacramento to make sure that nothing gets taken out of the development realm.
Okay. So I remember this somehow correct.
I think I do too, but I don't know the
Okay,
details.
I was
on-
just curious.
but
Okay.
you know, it's kind of a complicated question because the Open Space Committee has to justify it as open space. On the other hand, part of the reason for doing that is to also protect Dorothy Ford Park.
Yeah.
By finding an alternative
Right.
site. And so everybody understands that there are sort of multiple
It's great that you're
threads
doing
coming
that.
together
Yeah.
here, we hope.
Okay, thank you very much. Public Works, Catherine, she's not here, so, the only question I have, and that might have already, you might have mentioned that Public Works does the mowing at Springdown, and will there be some mowing? The time is coming for mowing.
Yeah, so that's
That's
what
what
we'll
you're doing.
discuss.
Oh, that's what
Yeah,
you're discussing.
so
Get it.
We have
Okay.
the old calendar and we have
Okay.
to decide if that makes sense still.
Okay, perfect. Trails and path,
There was a meeting and the primary topic discussed was fundraising. And so I don't really have anything to add beyond what Nona already summarized. That's what I was going to update the committee on. So it's fine.
sorry.
Nope, no, it's totally fine.
my question is, do you have any knowledge, because again, mowing is coming up. Does Trail have money to do the weeds to weed whack the weeds on their trails? Do you know?
I don't know, and there hasn't been anyone from the town attending the trails meetings since Howard left.
Okay,
So there have been some other questions, although,
okay, okay. Well,
My understanding from paying attention to that through the years was that Trails suggests, supervises, et cetera, and Public Works out of the Public Works budget maintain the trails. And I think there was some arcane thing about part of the money came because they were potential evacuation routes and
okay, okay. I was just curious. And then wildfire preparedness, they did not meet because that committee is now meeting quarterly. So obviously there won't be anything for a quarter. And then Woodside Fire, again, that is where the indentation should be Woodside Fire, and then the rest is a sub on the agenda. The subcommittee had been sharing information on the fire marshal's question, because the fire marshal has suggested that the fire department will take care of the enforcement of the Trichia and Bloom. She makes perfect sense. She says they can be trained much easier than staff, doesn't cost the staff any money, and they have teeth. I mean, the fire department has good teeth. So we are very much in support of that. And so I sent to Kim all the information. She had questions. We have answered the questions. Megan has answered most of the questions. And we have pulled together the brochures. And so I sent it about a week ago, so I haven't heard back yet. So this is in the making. And it's, again, it is so encouraging how well the fire department works with us. Okay. And then the last part where I put in fire report consistency, that's one thing we need to talk with the fire department. We have seen at the reports from the fire department, we assume that we need to meet. Different people who are writing up a report have different opinions of what's a flammable tree. Should it be taken out? Should it be limbed up? And we had some very favorable reports, like here on Westridge. So we just need to get together with them, understand their rationale, and then make sure where is the common ground, and then have everybody trained so that the reports are consistent.
is it an issue with interns that they basically have?
I don't
people
know.
coming through?
I don't know, but we have seen a report where it suggested the redwoods are too close together.
Yeah.
Okay.
right.
So there is a learning curve here that can be easily fixed, but
Yeah.
it's noticeable.
I think one of the really significant things is this 0 to 5 area where, some places people say nothing, and some people in other places they say, yes, it's okay if it's less than 18 inches or if it's less than a foot. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I'll get to you in a minute. To answer that, I brought this up yesterday in oral communications at the ASCC meeting. And I just pointed out that I have heard from the ASCC, like in the last meeting, where it was stated no plans. Although I heard from you that in yesterday's visit, they said plans. And so I just pointed it out that it's very difficult for us if we don't know, no plans, ASCC and fire department plans are allowed. Well, what is it? And so I'm sure this will be taken on and we'll get a solution very quickly. You had a question, Teresa.
I did. I just wasn't clear on what fire report you were talking about from the fire department themselves.
Yeah,
And-
those reports that if I I'm a homeowner and I'm looking at my trees and that's what's happening. And they call the fire department and say, can you please come out? I would like to know if I'm in compliance. And that's what I mean with the fire reports.
So
So-
it has nothing to do with conservation right in this minute, but it may be that we are,
No, it has a lot to do with conservation. Because then let's say the fire department says something about that tree, and then the homeowner says, I'm going to take that tree out. Then they come to the town for a tree removal permit, and then it comes to us, and then we look at that tree removal. It's linked. Those reports are linked with our work.
Right,
do I
and-
make myself clear?
And that's the thing I had brought up earlier in the meeting that we deferred to here, that in general, just because of the political situation, and the heightened level of concern about fire and the insurance overlay on it all, there are times when the fire department says should come out, when we wouldn't say that. So do we, as a matter of pragmatism, just to always defer to the fire department? Or do we, in the exceptional case, and I would say in general, there wouldn't be many cases, but this one about the redwoods are too close, they need to come out, where what the fire department has said is absurd.
That's right. We need to talk to them.
We
That's
need
what
to
I'm saying.
push back and not just rubber stamp what they're
Yes,
saying. So there
yes.
needs to be some consensus about that. In general, we'll say yes, but we have the prerogative of not agreeing with them.
There's also the case where the insurance company says the tree has to come out. And I think our approach there is that if we don't think it should come out, we can say, we don't think it's necessary, but if the insurance company requires it, we can't prevent these people from having insurance.
But I think we'd settled before on saying, show us the letter
Show us the
from the
letter. Yeah,
insurance.
show us the letter.
Because it's amazing to me, increasingly produced, how scammy people are willing to be to get their tree out if they want it out.
Yeah, so we need to work. Yeah. So we need to work with there is some work we need to do with the fire department. And if there is an extreme case where the fire department says in a report, take it out, and we want to say, leave it in, I think it would make a lot of sense to just pick up the phone, talk to the fire department and say, let's talk. Okay, because I think without the fire department's buy-in, we are not going to write official report and overwrite the fire department.
So I believe what I just heard you say, Madam Chairman, is that's an action item, but I don't know to whom it is
To me,
assigned.
Because with the subcommittee will take care
Okay,
of it.
I just
Yeah.
want to make sure I
Yeah, thank you.
capture that.
Madam,
Yeah, and I really like that a lot because I think the last thing that would be appropriate would be dueling reports.
we don't want that, yeah. And as the fire department is so willing and so supportive of conservation, it's really good that we have that we haven't had that in a long time. Okay, so then we are moving rapidly along. Oh, so on the communication on the dead trees, that is the same, that is part of that. It came in because we saw some very, very bad dead trees on a property that is empty, where nobody is living. And so Dita actually brought that up, that we really should tell the fire department, my God, there are all these possible, needles. I haven't done that yet, so it's on my action item list. And maybe it's taken care of already. Maybe the trees are already gone.
There a formal process that the fire department has for reporting things like that, that all residents should know about?
I don't know.
Because
You can ask.
it's coming from you as a resident really, rather than coming from you as the conservation committee, right?
Well, in that case, it was a site report. It was a tree report. So it was actually written up in our tree report that there were 5 dead pine trees. And the house was unoccupied. So the needles were that thick all around the house. And, if I live in that neighborhood, I sure would like somebody to take care of that. But that was one case, yeah. So, there is a lot. The field is wide and we want to cooperate. All right.
On the other hand,
Yes.
at 5588 Alpine today, we saw a dead madrone, but it was great habitat. It was a beautiful snag with just one or two, one bull and a few major limbs. And so we decided to not say anything about it.
All right. Okay. Kudos, Murphy.
So I now took this over. We had long ago decided that we would not ever do a kudo to an individual, which I continue to think is very appropriate. But I thought now it might be really good to sort of dovetail what we were talking about earlier and give a kudo to the group, unnamed people who worked closely with Public Works and to plan and then fund the repair of the washout at Shady Trail. Does that seem appropriate?
I think
to
that's a
folks?
nice idea.
I think it should wait till after it's happened. I think it's premature to do it before
Okay,
it actually occurs, although I think it's a fantastic idea.
okay, good. So I'll have that in my back pocket for the future. Then what the hell do I do now? this
Now,
month?
what do we do? So there will be broom pool in 2 weeks. So maybe we could sort of give kudos and implicitly we're motivating them. to
Yeah,
do it.
kudos to those who are planning to come out
Yep.
and those who can't come out, but will work on their own.
Yeah.
Lot or right away that week, that broom week.
Or you could do kudos to the people who've done all the planning for the mountain lion talks and helped rescue the cubs.
Oh,
Yeah. Yep.
that's a nice idea.
That'll also promote attendance, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know. You didn't really see that.
That's
much.
that's a real good kudo. That's a real kudo. Without well, no, you also have an agenda. You want more people to, there's always a little agenda behind it. Okay. Fine with me.
Both.
Yeah.
In
Both-
some ways, if we're giving kudos to people planning the talks, then it's to ourselves.
Maybe
but that's okay.
afterwards, maybe for the mountain lion. Not the talk, maybe for the rescue.
The
afterwards?
rescue we can do right now.
The rescue, not the talk. The talk hasn't happened yet.
We'll give the kudos to the rescue and say, by the way, these talks are coming up.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, good. And then tip of the month, Kathy is not here today, but she can write a tip. Does anybody have some thoughts what the tip could be? What's
The only thing that occurs to me is the broom, sorry, go ahead.
the broom?
Well, broom pool's a good one. I was
Okay.
gonna
So-
say also it's nesting bird season, so being careful what you broom and disturb.
Also, is it possible for us to just encourage folks to notice that the thistles are up in abundance early this year? They're out there and now is the time. Get out and pull them. Just suggesting.
Yeah, maybe we can combine it all into one big,
I think it's
Enough.
better if it's one tip done well
so which
than
one?
about a bunch of, I don't know, maybe give Catherine the choice, say,
Yeah,
you
let's
know,
give Catherine the
pull,
choice.
pull the thistles or, pull your broom.
Say that again.
Pull
so
your
that I
broom
can-
and while you're at it, pull your thistles. How about that?
Right.
Pull your broom,
Yeah,
pull your
that's okay.
thistles,
And by the way, watch out for nesting birds.
nesting birds. The one thing I can
And
tell you,
coyotes.
what I noticed, what is in abundance this year, poison oak. But also the houndstone in absolute abundance. Everything is in abundance this year. Okay.
Maybe that's what's blooming now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, houndstone. Okay, I will suggest that. All right. The lecture, do you have anything to add, Judy, to the lecture? We're done.
I don't think so, unless anybody has any questions.
And-
And then this balancing fire safety, that's such a good idea, but, with this other thing, I don't think it makes sense to do something now with it. I'm not really prepared to
Should we?
organize
should we-
that.
Should we fold this into our, when we talk to the fire department? Can we, it's the same people. Can we
Right,
fold
and
this
it would be
in?
actually be wonderful to co-sponsor that evening with the fire department.
Oh,
Ask
yes.
them to, give a presentation by somebody who's mindful of the habitat and have us give our presentation about habitat, et cetera, being
This-
mindful of the fire. I
Yeah.
think that would be great.
This would be really good.
Yeah.
Will take a little bit of time, but that's okay.
It
Fire
will,
season. hasn't-
but like late spring, early summer, as fire season is approaching, is when
Well,
people will be most interested.
yeah.
So it would make more sense
Oh,
to
yeah.
do it in
I-
May or June, so we have time to.
That's a great idea.
Just so I capture this correctly, now what we're talking about is having a presentation
An event.
and as versus folding it into the tree. Okay. Thank you.
This is a dynamic.
Yeah,
Okay, and then, Judy, anything else to add on that? And then last but not least, Megan, we'll keep it brief.
So Marion and I spoke a couple of times over the past few months and established that the plant lists that we had redeveloped and combined and consolidated and put on the website had some icons that aren't intuitive to some. So for the fire safety icons, we replaced those with just letters indicating low, high, undefined, or varies, and we'll replace that on the website unless there's any objections.
Thank you. And is it already done on the website?
No,
Will
that's okay.
you do that?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you. All right. And with that, the next meeting is after the football, obviously, on March 25th. Anybody who can't make it? Okay, so we'll have a forum, we'll have a quorum. And with that, meeting adjourned. 8:15, that's not bad, actually. All right.